Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Yetunde, aka YBA, and in today's video I'm going to be answering a question that was asked by two different people on my channel. I also got a DM on Facebook from someone asking me to make a video about this topic. How did we choose a school, or how did we choose schools for our kids after we moved here? If you're new to this channel, I am a Nigerian who used to live in Lagos, Nigeria, and I've just recently moved to Abidjan in Côte d'Ivoire. So this is just like a brief guide based on my experience on how we're able to choose a school for our kids. I made a bunch of videos now, I think, about Abidjan, and where I talked about, life here, just things I liked about it here and stuff like that. And on one of those videos, I got two comments from Tokende Travels. I really hope I'm saying it correctly. But wait, guys, let me check. There's Vanessa, I don't like to murder people's name, but there's a Vanessa. She says, "Hi Yetunde, how did you choose your kids' school? Would you please make a video on how to choose the kids' school? Thanks." And then Tokende Travel, "Hi Yetunde, great video. How did you decide on the school for the kids?" I also got a DM from someone else. I don't have a screenshot of that here. Also asking me, they had seen the video and they wanted to know how did we manage, with school. Let me just give you a bit of background. Moving here for us, we had quite a lot of help, I must say. My husband was recruited by his company from Nigeria, all with the knowledge that we were going to move here and all of that. The job is based here. And so one of the perks that came with that move was we were assigned a relocation consultant. It's a company, I feel like I should give them a shout out because they did a wonderful job. In Touch Relocations, and that was our agent. And this agent was hired by the company and they assigned a bunch of staff to us, and these people did a lot of groundwork for us. When I say a lot, I mean, we did our research, but I feel like without them, things would have been like a lot more difficult for us when it came to doing a lot of things and settling down. The good people at In Touch Relocations, they prepared a lot of documentations for us. One of the documents I remember was a document of our schools. Now, I cannot share this document with you. Again, like I said, it's something official that was shared with my husband based on the contract In Touch Relocations, what they have with my husband's company. However, I can mention their names, so if you'd like to use them for their services, I believe you can just contact them and they can prepare something for you. The documents that were sent to us were sort of designed for us. This is because the first things we did was we had to fill out a questionnaire. Well, this questionnaire had a range of questions. Where do you live now? What kind of housing do you currently stay in? Where do you hope to live? Do you want to live in an apartment, in a villa? Questions like, do you want to live excuse me, in like smack in the middle of town? Do you want to live like in a more suburban kind of feeling? Do you want to live, what is important to you? Supermarkets, schools, church, like, things you would normally think about when you want to move somewhere. This really helped us, to narrow down and streamline a lot of the choices we made. When we filled the form, we had already told them the curriculum our kids were in their school in Nigeria. So they wanted to know, do you want to go to just a regular school or do you want to go to an international school? If you want to go to an international school, do you want to go to a bilingual school or a school where the language of instruction is in English, or a French international school? These were all the questions we had answered, and I believe you also have to answer for yourself when it comes to making this decision. So what do you want for your children? And you also have to be flexible. So let me tell you our experience. When we filled out all our forms, we told them we want bilingual schools. So we wanted bilingual because honestly, one of the things that attracted us to come here to this country was the fact that, okay, we all get to learn French. And we wanted the kids to be in a school where they would be taught, kind of half and half in English and in French. We felt it was going to be the best for them. However, when we came here, there was a trip we took, like a look-see, like a scouting trip, we took before we moved here, finally. And we were here for a little over 3 weeks. Again, shout out to In Touch Relocations. They were waiting for us. They helped us out. They had booked a bunch of appointments for us. And I would advise anyone who wants to move here, if you can, to take a scouting trip. The scouting trip really helped to put things in perspective for us. By the end of our scouting trip, we had changed our mind from wanting to go to a bilingual school to an English school. And I'll tell you why in a second. We also realized that our budget for housing was a bit lower than the kind of house we ended up liking, the kind of homes we ended up liking. So we also had to tweak our budget a bit. Also for me, as someone who is also coming from Nigeria, I knew we're in West Africa, but I was also like, oh, you know, what do I need to pack? What can I find locally, like, you know, that is grown here and is similar or the same thing, like ingredients that I would need to make food and stuff like that. I visited Treshville Market. I went to Ajame Market. Again, a scouting trip is a great idea. I would advise this. I know not everyone might be able to do this, especially if you're coming from like the US or from Asia. But if you're coming from somewhere where it's not too far, you should definitely make a scouting trip. I highly recommend it. It helped really to put things in perspective. I would just like to point out before I continue that any school or organization I mention here, they didn't pay me to make this video. I'm making this video because people requested for it. I just want to share things that I wish I had seen on YouTube before I moved here, you know, information. Number one, I believe if you're a foreigner or an expatriate and you're moving here, most likely you would want to go for the international schools. And here is why. Because the international schools generally, most of them run, except for about a few of them, like 2 or 3, most of them run like a combined curriculum. So wherever you're coming from, you'll be able to find somewhere, you know, where you'd fit in. And I'm talking about your kids now. I mean, it's not going to be too strange for them. So I would advise you, if you're an expatriate, to definitely go for an international school. I have to tell you though, the international schools are really expensive, but I think this is not new. Even in Nigeria, the international schools are really, really expensive. Depending on the kind of situation you have at work, are you going to be working remotely when you move here? If you're going to be going to the physical, like going to the office physically, you're going to the office, you may need to find your school first before you decide on a home. We ended up at first deciding on a home before we decided on a school, and eventually we had to go back on that decision. We had even paid for the home, and then we had to go and ask for our money back. It was a whole thing, because when we finally decided on a school, we found out that that particular school did not have a school bus that plies the area we were going to live in. And this was going to put a strain on our life, our system as a family. I'm going to talk about the schools that I visited. One of the first schools that was recommended for us, and if you Google international school in Abidjan, I believe this is a school with the highest ranking when it comes to like on Google with information readily available. International Community School of Abidjan. This school runs an American curriculum. It's strictly American. So if you're coming from America, I believe like this will probably be your best bet. I do have to tell you, I think they are probably one of the most, if not the most expensive international school here. It's a really nice school. It's a big school. They are in a very good, in my opinion, a very nice central place. They've got like a lot of extracurricular activities, and also, you know, it's like a melting pot of nationalities. Actually, this is true for all the international schools anyways. Another school that runs an American curriculum is Luke International School. This school runs not just an American curriculum, they run a particular curriculum called Abeka. Abeka is like a Christian American curriculum. I had never heard of Abeka before until we visited the school and we met the head of school, and they gave us, you know, all the pamphlets and everything. And I had to actually go home that day, get to the house, and then do more research on what an Abeka curriculum is. So if you're familiar with this kind of curriculum, yes, Luke International School will be it for you. However, Luke International School, I don't think they have a high school. Another school that we visited was International Bilingual School of Africa. Now, this school was top on my list, like it was #1 school I really wanted based on their online presence and everything. And even when we visited there, the school grounds is lovely. I'm big on play for children. I don't like schools that don't invest in play structure. Also, for most international schools, because they run you know, ages from like 2 to upwards of 19, maybe to like high school level, they need to have, in my opinion, a big land area, because you have to keep the little ones separate from the older ones. This school passed all of that. They ticked all of that. However, the one thing I didn't like about the school was, I remember we had 2 appointments with them, and every time the officer of the school that we met didn't understand English. And this school is literally called International Bilingual School of Africa. So everything they told us, we needed an interpreter. Thankfully, like I said, we had our agent with us who is bilingual. My biggest worry was, okay, is this how my kids, I'm an adult and I'm struggling to communicate. Is this how my kids are going to struggle? But other than that, they have like amazing facilities. All their extracurricular activities take place in the school. That's how much facilities they have. So it's really a great school, I believe, but it wasn't just a good fit for us. Another school we visited was our International English School of Abidjan. And out of all the schools I'm going to talk about today, I think this school had the best customer service. I rate them 10 over 10. Let me tell you, the head of school, he is fantastic. He gave us callbacks. He picked our calls. At one point when we found a home, and we were really bad with how to describe where our home was. This is the day he's supposed to be in his house. He said, you know what, on Saturday morning, let's meet up in this area, and then I'll follow you. And when I see where you live, I'll be able to tell you if we have buses that go there. Like, he went the extra mile. And even though their buses would not reach our home, they made some provisions for us. Okay, what if we choose another meeting point, and then, you know, we have like a place where we do drop off and pick up. So that, for me, in fact, I was sold on that school, because, like I said, fantastic customer relations. Everyone at that school, they were wonderful. What didn't I like about that school was I just felt like they didn't have enough space. So this school also runs Cambridge curriculum, and they run from, you know, kindergarten, that's playgroup, whatever it's called, up to high school. Now, the school is kind of divided into 3 sections, you know, the preschool, the primary school, and the high school. And they were all in like different buildings, but all on the same street. And I didn't like that. I wanted my kids to be able to stick together. Like, someone can go to the other person's class to check on them. And I didn't like the fact that they were all in different buildings. By the time they were done with us with the service, I actually was like, you know what, this is the school. So yeah, fantastic school, Cambridge curriculum, and really great customer service. I don't know who is running the show there, but they're really doing well when it comes to customer service. Another school we visited was ENCO. Now, there were the 2 ENCOs. It wasn't the ENCO International. We visited the ENCO Rivera. And when we got there, we found out that they only ran classes, I think, from middle school to high school. Sorry, from upper primary to high school. Now, I have a young child who still needs to go to preschool. So I didn't want to do 2 schools. Like, I just know it wasn't an option for me. I needed my children to be in the same school just to be able to coordinate our lives better. So that was the reason why we didn't choose that school. I mean, we had a kid who could go into that school. I mean, we had 2 of them, but we were just like, then we'll now have 2 kids in this school and then 1 kid in that school. Again, personal preference, but the school ground's also very big. It's also not a new school, it's an old school, so they have pedigree. And yeah, wonderful reception at the school too as well. Another school that we visited was Morning Glory. Now, Morning Glory was one of those schools that we didn't want to go to, because out of all these schools I've mentioned, all these schools are in the Rivera, Cocody kind of area. Morning Glory is in Benjaville. Benjaville is just, you know, just like a little bit outskirts-ish of Abidjan. I mean, it's not that far. Like, if you're in any of the Riveras, maybe a 15-minute drive, 10 minutes, depending on what traffic is saying. So it's not like it's really far, but Benjaville is like another community on its own. When I looked at the map, it looks like it's another town. So I'm like, why do I want my kids to go to school out of town? But this school was also one of the good schools. They run a Cambridge and edX. It's called edXL. Hold on, I wrote it out. I've got my notes here, because when I got this request, I said, you know what, an edXL accredited center and a Cambridge curriculum. As a matter of fact, it's more of like 3 curriculums merged together, and with each level of school, you know, they change things up a little. If you're someone who the reason you want your kids to go to an international school is so that they can meet like children of different nationalities, yeah, you might like that school. All the schools proudly displayed all the nations that they have represented in their school, and I think they had like the highest, you know, number of nationalities displayed. They had like over 50 nationalities displayed. So if you're into that kind of thing, that's your school. It is also a very big school. It's also an old school, so they also have pedigree. But some of their facilities were not that new. So if you're all about the aesthetics, you might not like it. Again, it's an old school. Everything is up to date. When I say some of the facilities are not that new, I mean like the structure. It's an old structure. So they just keep adding to it and maintaining it. Another thing I really love about the school is the fact that the school is sectioned in the way that the babies are kept away from the primary school kids, and the primary school kids are kept away from the older kids, but they're all in the same compound. It's not like they don't mingle, but it is done in a way that you don't need to worry about one big boy or big girl bullying your kid, that kind of thing. But it's in Benjaville. So you need to sort out your school before you decide on housing, because if you are going to live in places like Rivera Do, Rivera Trois, Rivera Bonume, Rivera Gulf, even Rivera Fire, I believe you can go to school at Benjaville. But if you're going to live in Zonkat, for instance, or Bietri, Makori, it's a long drive from those locations. You want to put into consideration what time would the kids wake up, how many hours of, you know, school time would they have going from when they wake up and when they get back home. Those are things, you know, we thought about. So again, I will always advise, choose the school and then look for a home that will, you know, not be too far. Also, of course, not too far from your place of work. The last school I want to talk about is the International University Demonstration School. This school is in Rivera Bonume, and I really wanted to go to this school, even though they had an American curriculum, and we didn't want an American curriculum. But when I sent there's on their page, on their website, there is like a contact us form. They were really responsive, so I was like, you know what, let's just go and look at it. But eventually we didn't end up going there because for some reason we just couldn't get an appointment, and by the time we got an appointment with them, I believe we had already seen like what we wanted to see and we had made our decision. They also have an American curriculum, I think I said that, but they don't have a high school. They've got from pre-K to grade 12. So you can convert that, you know, in the schooling system. The great thing about all the international schools is they all have like a pre-designed grade conversion, so you can easily convert. Like if you're coming from any kind of background, any kind of curriculum, you can easily, because in Nigeria we use year 6 or primary 6, but you can get here year 6 is like year 5 or CT something, you know, or grade. So depending on what it's called, they usually would give you that, and then you can just, you know, plug in your child's age versus what class they're in, and you find the correct grade your kids should be in. Now, lastly, I want to talk about the French schools. Now, with the French schools, I believe if you're coming from somewhere like a francophone country, like you're coming from Lebanon, or you're coming from France, you're coming from Togo, any francophone country really, and your kids already speak French, I believe it will be easy for you to integrate into the French school. We visited some French schools that were really amazing. I think it was called Jules Verne International School. Really big school, lovely grounds. Like your kids, the extracurricular there, amazing, but language of instruction is French, curriculum is French, so it was going to be too much change for us, so we couldn't go to that school. Let me just say this about all the bilingual schools, and I mean all of them. If you're going to opt for those schools, I believe you need to like go there like more than once, go there like 2 or 3 times, because with my interactions with other expat parents here, the bilingual schools are honestly not bilingual. They're mostly 80% French, or maybe 90% French, 10% English, or 20% English. Now, one thing I have to tell you about the English schools is that somehow they actually run a bilingual program, but they'll tell you, oh, we're an English-speaking school. Every event, I have a friend who works at American school, and when they have their events, they have a translator. This is because Ivorians also send their kids to these international schools, and so there are kids there who only speak French, and they were sent to these international schools where language of instruction is English, so that they can learn English. So at the end of the day, they do, do a bit of bilingual. It's just that in class, in the classroom, and your communications with the school, the language of instruction will be English. They also teach the children French and they teach it as a second language. So it's not necessarily like just a subject. No, it's not even optional. The kids had to learn French. Fees obviously varied per school. There were some schools who they expect you to pay them in USD, especially the American schools. And there were also a bunch of schools you have to pay in the local currency, the ZOF, CFA. I have a bunch of cards and, should I say, resources from some of the schools that I kept. I think some I don't have them, but I have some here. I actually have like a whole folder. When we were doing all of these runs, we had to keep records. So I believe I still have like some cards for some of the officers, really amazing officers that helped us out through all of this. So if you reach out to me personally and you come to my DM either on Instagram or on Facebook, I can send you like a phone number of someone who helped us out in any of these schools. If you want me to put you in touch with our agents, the relocation agents at In Touch Relocations, I can also do that. And they didn't pay me for this, but I will recommend them any day, anytime for anyone. If you have more questions for me in the comment section, do let me know. I'd like to end this video by saying thank you for watching. Thank you for asking me to make this video. I honestly didn't plan to make this video, but because it was requested 3 times, I decided, you know what, let me make the video and, let me just put all the information out there. Until I come your way again, my name is Yetunde. Bye.